Hey, Mr. DJ.
I sort of went to the piano, found the chords to it.
Hey, you want to form a band? I play guitar.
Writing songs is just trying to grab some of that power for yourself.
I've had no formal training in songwriting at all.
I remember writing that in the kitchen. I remember the actual process.
There's something so deeply moving about the song and so timeless.
Get out of the way of the music.
It is 13 past 10 on 12:33. Time to get out of the way of the music. Antonino Tati is here, editor of Cream magazine. Hi, Antonino.
Hi, Jenny. I was getting nice and lost in that Beach Boys track there.
Yes.
That you just played.
Now that qualifies as psychedelic, right?
It certainly does. When strings and things start getting a little echoey and swirly, you definitely know there's some psychedelic influence in a song, yeah.
And this is coming through into some modern pop songs. You're noticing this come through, well, right now with some recent releases. What are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing, first of all, I'm noticing the visuals on YouTube, and you might see something sort of quite acid looking on the thumbnail of a music video, and you go to click on it and you realize that the whole video is saturated in color. And then the songs themselves of a lot of pop artists lately have been, seem to be influenced by this kind of acid type movement. There's a lot of effects on the voices and a lot of special effects also on the instrumentation, and we've got a big batch of examples today to play to express that. Actually.
Yes, and so the first example that you've given us is A Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, but not the one that we're most familiar with.
Not the Beatles version, which was possibly one people would consider sacrilegious and not to touch. You know what I mean? To touch that would be wrong.
I mean, it's
but
a big
these
call
guys,
to take on Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
It certainly is, and this version here has been tackled by three artists. It's a group called the Flaming Lips, who are very familiar with covering, or people are familiar with them covering songs. They've got Moby, the electronic artist, as well as Miley Cyrus, would you believe, on lead vocals here.
Flaming Lips, Moby and Miley Cyrus. What a combo. On a Beatles tune.
On a Beatles tune. Now, this is from a couple of years back, but what it could have done was influenced other pop artists, because when Miley starts going psychedelic, I think a lot of other people start sort of going, well, if she gets away with it. But the thing is, it's really fresh for her as well. It's not so contrived like her usual top 40 stuff.
Miley can get away with swinging around naked on a wrecking ball, and there's not many other people that could do that either, Antonino.
That's kind of freewheeling 60s, 69 itself, isn't it? She's getting away with a lot, that one, isn't she?
Well, let's hear a little bit. I haven't heard this one, so I'm looking forward to it. So it's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, as we talk about how that psychedelic pop is coming through in some modern stuff. Miley Cyrus, Moby and the Flaming Lips. Antonino, I can't wait to hear it.
Okay.
Can you turn Wayne up a little bit?
Picture yourself in a boat on the river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies. Somebody calls you, you answer quite slowly. The girl with kaleidoscope eyes. Cellophane flowers of yellow and green.
Wow, Flaming Lips, Miley Cyrus and Moby coming together there on a cover of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Antonino.
I should have warned you, Jenny, that it gets a bit crazy and distorted in the chorus there. Did you notice how
Pretty
loud
crazy.
it sort of got?
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, I think in the late 60s, there was a lot of drug taking that sort of influenced changes in music. But I wouldn't see our modern artists as actually partaking in that kind of thing. I think they're just liking the retro factor and knowing that either Gran or their parents got into this once upon a time, and so they're giving it a go as well, basically.
They're replicating the sound and the image, you think, more so than the culture that gave rise to it.
Definitely the image as well, because if you saw that video, like I'd Google it, it does warn that it may be inappropriate for some users, some of the visuals to that clip, but it's so trippy. It's one of the trippiest clips I've ever seen. They literally go with cellophane flowers of yellow and green, and there's lava lamps and rainbows, and they go one step beyond what the Beatles did, who at least were, not presenting so much visually, but these guys go all the way with the colour. So it's fun.
Let's talk about some Australians, the Presets. Now, what are they doing in this field?
In this field, they've sort of got a new single out called Downtown Shutdown. I believe it's a statement on, our government's closing venues earlier than they should be in the East Coast, according to bands and artists who would like them to stay open and not have this sort of lockout issue going on. So they've got this song, but to celebrate it, they've sort of thrown in a lot of sort of acidic vibe in the music as well as in their music video. There's a bit of African sort of tribal element to it, and the chorus is sort of, really quite catchy. But when you see what they're wearing in the clip as well, it's bright, it's eclectic, it's got that real tinge of, bright neons and fluoros. And so they're sort of, heading in that direction, and one of quite a few Australians that are going in that acid psychedelic direction as well.
Here's a little bit from the Presets actually talking about Downtown Shutdown.
We'd been working on this track for a couple of years without guitars and without choirs on it. And it was always really great for us. It was sort of like a slower dance track for us. It wasn't typical like 120, 128 BPM that we would normally do. It was sort of more on the funkier side, but on the faster, funkier side. But it had an acid kind of vibe to it. We sort of then figured out that we wanted to put choirs that have a certain accent on them, like African choirs and Caribbean choirs and stuff. So, it's not outside of our aesthetic palette, but it's just not really something we've ever kind of gone for before.
The Presets talking on that. Antonino, I can't wait to hear it now. I'm intrigued.
Well, you heard his keyword there, acid, so see if you can spot the trippier sounding music.
Downtown Shutdown, the Presets on 12:33, 20 past 10.
forget about all of us. All regret you will overcome. You'll get the hang of all of this. Standing on the precipice. I can't believe the view you've got.
The Presets, Downtown Shutdown on 12:33. Antonino Tati is here and we're talking about music, the psychedelic influences on modern pop. I can practically see the film clip in my head, Antonino.
You can. A lot of hand clapping and people coming together, right?
Yes.
You know, sort of choral chorus, like Ian was saying in that snippet there. Basically, what I see happening, Jen, with a lot of music now is that they've got these visuals of people coming together in a communal sense and fighting the establishment, for want of a better sort of term of phrase. And I find this pattern happens at the end of each decade as well. You kind of got the late 60s was a big time for social revolution. The 70s, things punk really took its, had its way with the establishment. In the late 80s, people were dropping acid and having, parties when they shouldn't have, particularly in capitals like London and Sydney, and taking over warehouses. And in the 90s, trip hop was at its peak. And again, the videos were about groups coming together, celebrating and defying whatever might be going on in politics that they didn't seem as fair. I know that's a bit heavy, wasn't it, for all this sort of pop music?
Ooh, interesting observations.
Yeah, I kind of figure. Whereas you look at the start of the decade, everyone's fresh. It's all about me. They're just standing alone in their music videos. By the end of the decade, all these people have come together and they've all seem to pop pills or something.
What
like
an
that.
Interesting observation. Something I'll keep in mind from now on.
I might write a thesis paper and come back to you on it.
Yeah, Dr. Tati will be interested to hear from you on that one. What else can we listen to here? Pnau?
Yeah, they do the same as the Presets because their song Changa, it again goes for a tribal sound with chants in the background, almost sounding pygmy-like. If any of our listeners were around in the late 80s, they knew of a band called Deep Forest. And again, it brings in one aspect we haven't talked about, eco. So you've got this environmental friendly sound happening and quite organic sounding, but still with a dance beat. So yeah, Changa by Pnau does the same as the Presets, really.
Pnau are Australian, aren't they?
They're Australian, yeah.
Okay.
Nick Littlemore and someone else, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll be keen to hear a bit of this. Changa. Little taste of this. News headlines not far away as we talk about the psychedelic influences on modern pop. Pnau on 12:33. Antonino, I'm having a little boogie.
Yeah. You can't help. It's quite infectious, isn't it?
We've had a text from Dan, and Dan is saying, now, come on, King Gizzard better rate a mention in this list. So Dan's a fan of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. We've got a little piece of this. Another Australian act, Antonino, a bit less dance-oriented perhaps, but dabbling in that psychedelic sound. Yeah.
They're great, King Wizard and the Lizard Wizard, and they really have their heart in their sleeve when it comes to their love for psychedelia. You can hear a lot of that swirly stuff going on, and I love that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. This one's called Bone.
Bone. Good taste, that listener.
Is there something about flute and psychedelic music?
There is. I think it was the flute that was on the back of a Led Zeppelin album years ago, and everyone's gone, I want one of them.
It's going to be psychedelic. We're going to need a flute player.
and pipes. Björk has just released a whole album with pipes on it, and that's about 80% of the music.
Right.
So pipes and flutes have
Wow.
got some connection with psychedelic. Again, it goes back to that eco-organic. You can imagine sort of more pagan vibe with a flute or a pipe, can't you?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, earth and wind and all that. Antonino, we've got a couple of minutes before we go to the news headlines. We've got one final song. What can you tell me about this one?
Well, this one sort of fractures its lyrics a little bit at the start. Like you'd expect it to jump into its chorus, but it sort of trips out with your head because you've got Luke Steele and Daniel Johns. One used to be in Sleepy Jackson and
Newcastle's Daniel Johns, I think you have to say, Antonino, in this town.
Newcastle's Daniel Johns, very talented and very open spoken Daniel Johns,
Yes.
who is back on the scene again.
Yes.
And his song, his outfit is called Dreams, that he's paired up with Luke Steele, and the song is called Silence, but it's anything but silent. It's quite a trippy electronic number where by the time they get to the chorus, you're not sure what he's saying, and then the second time round you go, oh, hang on, this is a really cool lyric. So yeah, again, it plays with psychedelic but with an electronic bent for sure.
Antonino, what a way to finish today with a little bit of Daniel Johns in Dreams with Silence. Thanks for bringing our attention to how this psychedelic influence is making its way through.
You're most welcome.
It's been great to hear from you, Antonino Tati. He's the editor of Cream Magazine. Great to hear from him today, and you'll hear from him again in a couple of weeks from now. 10:28.
Silent. I always think about you. There ain't no meaning in time. I fall